Hi everyone, welcome to the Mixtape Fiber Arts vlog. This is number 3 and I've got quite a bit of stuff lined up today to go over. Most excited for me is that I have been holding off opening my HiberknitALong box from Stephen and Penelope for the HiberknitALong that I believe starts December 26th. I don't know that I'll start with them, but I've held off opening this box so I could open in front of you guys. I don't remember exactly which kit I ordered. I have a general idea of what colors of yarn I ended up with, but we're gonna find out when I open it. First of all, let's talk about what I'm wearing. It's the super simple summer sweater that took me a few times by HiberknitALong. It's meant to be knit, I believe, in cotton, maybe linen, but I think cotton. I chose to do this for winter. I knit this when I lived in the Midwest and it was very cold and I needed something very warm. And frankly, here in Arizona, I really only wear it on pretty cool mornings, which yesterday and today have been, but to be honest with you, when we're done with this vlog, I'm probably going to take it off because it gets warm very quickly here. But I did double-stranded wool in an 80-20 blend of wool and nylon. And then as I went down the work, I kept one color the same. And I don't know if you can see that, probably. I kept one color the same. And I graded the other color as I went down so it got darker. That's why the hems here have more eggplant in them as opposed to up at the top where it's much more just green. I do not remember the colors of wool that I used. I do know that they came from New Garden Yarns, but I do not remember the color names. At least I believe, I know at least one of them came from New Garden Yarns. They were leftovers from a different project. But at any rate, I love this. I made a few modifications. It's longer than it's supposed to be. And of course, I just said I changed the fabric a little bit. And I think I'm also knitting a bit smaller gauge than the pattern called for. So I did do some finagling with the measurements. To get the size I wanted, but knit in the needle size that I wanted to get the fabric to be a little tighter. So at any rate, I highly recommend any pattern by HiberknitALong. She does an excellent job. Everything is very clear. She doesn't skip any steps. If there's something that's a little more difficult or she thinks might be a new stitch for a majority of the people, she'll always put a link to a video of how to complete it. So if you are a newer knitter and you're wanting to expand your skill level, I highly recommend any of her patterns. She's got a few wraps that are pretty straightforward, and this sweater was very straightforward. So it's a great place to start for you if that's what you're wanting to do. I'm gonna look at my notes so I don't skip anything. Okay, what I'm working on. It's right behind me. So what I've been working on, as I've been saying in the Vlogmases, is this crochet blanket. Whoop. And this is, as I mentioned last vlog, actually made off a pattern I wrote as a wrap called the Rainbow Crochet Connection. I toyed around with the idea of releasing this as a blanket pattern like I did the Rainbow Knit Connection wrap I redid as a blanket called the Knit Connection wrap, which I really enjoyed doing. I don't think I'm going to do that with this blanket right now. I've just got too much stuff going on. I don't have the headspace to deal with putting a pattern out right now is basically what it comes to. So maybe sometime in the future, but I still want to get it done. I'm really enjoying how it's looking. It's extremely heavy. This is for a size full bed as a topper, so it's large. This is large. And right now it already has 2.5 skeins of this Karen Big Cakes in it. And these are, I think we talked about this last time, they're huge. These are 300 grams and they are 603 yards each. So this is eating up yarn like you would not believe. So I'm grateful that I found a fairly inexpensive but still very durable and soft yarn to use. It is acrylic on purpose because I know that these blankets are going to take a beating. They get carried around the house sometimes. They're sitting on your bed. They need to be able to go through a washer and a dryer without completely falling apart or becoming, you know, so heavy that a normal commercial dryer can't deal with them. So I think that the yarn choice I made was great. Also, what was great is that this yarn is readily available at most places. So you can potentially walk into a Joann's or a Michael's and be able to just find it on the shelf. You don't have to order a special from somewhere. So at any rate, I'm working on finishing this up. Clearly I have a ways to go, but oh, get up there. Crochet goes much quicker than knitting, and so I'll make better time on it than some other things. I really didn't want to start the HiberknitALong until I got this finished. I don't know. I'm really wanting to cast on some actual knitting because I don't have a big knitting project going right now. I tend to be a single project person. That doesn't mean I don't have any unfinished objects. I very much have some UFOs, but I don't know that they're things that I will actually go back to. Like, I was not enjoying them to the point where I have put them aside and not touched them. It wasn't that I went into the project with another project in mind or something interrupted it, a different project interrupted it that I liked more. It was legitimately these projects got set aside because I just wasn't enjoying the knit. And maybe we'll go through some of them sometime if I can dig them out. There's not that many of them. But this blanket is something that I can pick up and set down very easily. It doesn't take really any thought at all. So I don't think it would be detrimental to have this going at the same time as maybe it's the Stephen and Penelope project, which I know is going to take a lot more of my attention and be a little less TV knitting, and more, you know, pay attention to what you're doing. Don't miss that yarn over. You're working on lace. That's not an issue with this. So we'll see. We'll see. Probably what's going to answer that question is when I open this box here in a minute. Designing wise, I haven't had a tremendous amount of designing going on right now. Of course, this is technically a new design, the blanket, but really it's based off of that wrap. And while there are some big changes that I don't know would be intuitive for other people to figure out that would make it, you know, worthy of a new pattern, I do think it would be worthy of a new pattern, especially for beginner knitters, because it is fairly advanced beginner friendly. But I have not really been designing. I did design these little squares. If you've looked at the knitting tutorials, and I need to weave in the ends on a lot of them still. It's a little, I guess it's more of a rectangle, and it's just in garter stitch. And I actually wrote a pattern for these. It's the most simple pattern, but it's a good way to learn how to read patterns. And this one I actually weaved on the ends. But it's just garter stitch. I think it's maybe 28 rows or something. And I used it to, 1, teach how to read patterns, 2, how to combine the cast off, the knitting, and teach the bind off for the knitting tutorials that I did. So, you know, these can be little coasters, they can be trivets, they can be face cloths, which is probably what I'm going to use them for. But technically that's a pattern design. I have a whole stack of them here. There are many different options for colors of cotton yarn. These are all 100% cotton. There's so many. Just because I made so many because I was practicing the cast-ons mainly. A lot of them have different cast-ons. that I use during the tutorials. So, and then the last pattern for when I teach purling is an actual full, more of a washcloth or dishcloth. And it has an actual border on it, and we use both purl and knitting in this, so it's in stockinette. And that will be out when I release all of the patterns tutorials for the purling, which will be, I believe, on January 4th is when I plan to release all of the purling videos. So at the end of this series, you should be able to knit in continental, purl in Norwegian purl, and be able to read a very basic pattern. That's kind of the idea of this, and if you follow it from beginning to end, you won't miss any steps, but the videos are laid out so that if you just want to learn continental purling, you can do that. If you just want to practice a continental knit stitch, you can do that. You don't have to watch, you know, a 2-hour-long video to get to all of that. That's the idea. So that's what I've been designing. Let's see. Oh, we are here, the HiberknitALong box. This is what I've purchased section, and there will not always be a what I purchased section. It's been a little unusual lately that these last, I think, 3 videos I might have had new purchases, even if it was just, you know, the cotton yarn for these. But I had the yarn for the HiberknitALong, or for the blanket, and now I have this HiberknitALong box from Stephen and Penelope. And yes, I got the whole kit, so I have not opened it. I did cut this right here so I could open it easily on camera. I'll try to keep the clattering of the box down and the tissue paper, because I have a feeling there's probably going to be some in here. But let's open it and see. And since I got the whole kit, there should be a pattern book in here, I think, maybe. Okay, so we'll start with a box and a box. This is, I believe, the mug that came along with the kit for the HiberknitALong. His idea here is that you have a project that's a little more relaxing with some cozy things to go along with it. So yes, this is the little mug. It says Hiberknit on it, and it has a little log cabin, and it's the perfect size for my small hand. But I will definitely make some tea in that at some point. Let's see, we've got, a stroopwafel. So if you don't know, Stephen lives in Amsterdam, and a claim to fame of Amsterdam is the stroopwafel, which is like a caramely wafer. You can set it on top of your cup like this with the hot coffee or tea, and it warms it up and makes the caramel super gooey. There are vegan versions of this that I can consume. This is vegetarian, so I'm not sure. It says on the back it's vegetarian, so I'm not sure if I can eat it or not. I'm looking for English on here somewhere. Okay, I found it. I have a dairy allergy, so I'll look at this closer later. If I can't eat it, I promise you somebody in my house will eat it. But I actually have some vegan ones in my cabinet, so if I want to enjoy one, I can. I am not vegan, by the way. Just the dairy allergy makes it so that a lot of vegan desserts are the way for me to go. Did you see a glimpse of my yarn? There it is. Okay. Okay, we've also got this. This is a needle gauge. If you're not familiar with needle gauges, it looks like a snowflake, which is cute. You can slip your needle into any of these holes, and if it fits exactly, there's a little indicator on here that tells you how many millimeters it is. If for some reason your needle doesn't say it, or you've had wooden ones and it's worn off, I know that can happen to some people, so that's always convenient to have around. I have several at this point, but not a snowflake one, and now I do. Oh, okay, here is the pattern. It is signed by Stephen West. That is really cool. The pattern itself is called the Glow Hair Frost Shawl. I'll pop a picture of it in right here. I thought that there was a pattern book in here, but I think maybe I just get a code for all the patterns that are in the book to get the, or maybe it's just this and I'm mistaken. There will be a book that is just HiberknitALong stuff. He releases a HiberknitALong book every year. If for some reason I don't have that as part of this, I will for sure be getting it. I know that there's a hat and a cowl both in there already that I would really enjoy knitting, so I want the whole thing. Okay, the yarn. Here's the yarn. I should take it out of the package, huh? Might be a little loud, sorry. So the reason these are glow hair frost shawls is because of the mohair that is part of the yarn that's being used in the pattern. And the name of Stephen West's or West Wool's mohair is called glow hair, and it is 64% mohair and 36% mulberry silk is what these packages are saying. So, okay, I have got these 3 yarns, and I chose Walk. They are right here. They are, let's see, it's called Heavy Sock Weight, and they're 100% superwash merino. So here are I'm so happy with these. I don't have a ton of stuff in this color palette. I tend because of my skin being so pink and red to begin with, I tend to gravitate towards cool colors, and so I have a ton of things that are green and light blue, and usually when I gravitate away from that, I will choose various colors of purples. So this, I think, legitimately might be the only thing I will have in, especially a Stephen West, but any kind of large project in these colors. So this, let's see, the more orangey one here is, let's see, where are the names? Oh boy. Okay, so this is called Gaia, this darker one. This one is called Claret, which makes sense. It looks exactly like a deep red wine. And I have to be honest with you, I can't read the handwriting on this one. I just can't. I'll have to look it up online at some point, I guess, and see if I can hunt down the actual name, but I just can't read it. But it's a dark burnt orange color, and it goes surprisingly really well with these, which is a color palette I would never have been able to come up with on my own. Mixing oranges and reds is difficult for me. So here are the mohairs, and they feel fantastic. Let me see if I can get them all picked up together in a way that you can actually see them. Here's the whole bundle. Very cool. So the mohairs individually are kind of a play off of, there's a, a dark, a medium, and a light, and this glow hair color is called corduroy. This one is called berry. And this one is called Roswitha. I mean, clearly it's a rosy color. So I assume the pairing of these goes these two, and these two. If it's not, that's probably what I'm going to do. I don't know that the pattern even dictates which mohair goes with which main base, but I cannot wait to wind these up. This is going to be fabulous. It's single ply. So I would not call single ply yarn something that beginning knitters should work with. I tried using it, and that's just from my experience. It's a lot easier to split, and I know that doesn't sound logical, but it is, and also because of the nature of it not being wound super tight against other yarn, it can be very hard to pull apart if you mess up the pattern. It can kind of stick. It's 100% wool, even though it's superwash, and the superwash part will help, but it very much is going to probably stick to itself once it starts to get knit up. So, and even more so with the mohair in it. And I know there are some tricks, maybe throwing it in the freezer and that kind of thing, to get the fuzziness of the mohair to calm down if you need to back out a whole bunch. But hopefully I don't get myself in that kind of a situation. I mean, all of Steven's patterns can be advanced beginner friendly, I think, because he's so great with the instructions. I just think that this particular yarn, and maybe I'd avoid the mohair. If it was my first major project, I would just, the mohair is so fine that it doesn't really change the weight that you're dealing with the yarn. It shouldn't change the size of the shawl, really. So I would just, if you're wanting to try this out and you're a newer knitter, just go with some 80-20 regular sock yarn, you know, nylon wool mix. It'll hold up a little better too. It'll be easier to care for. And avoid the mohair and the single ply wool. You know, if you're super adventurous and super patient, try it. At some point, we all just go for it and try it. I hate to see people make bad, like, I don't want to say it's a bad choice because everybody's different, but I don't like to see people make themselves work with more difficult materials and then say they can't do something, and they put it away and they never try to knit again. When really, if they just would have chosen an easier to deal with yarn, they would have handled the pattern just fine. A lot of people only have so much patience to go around. And if you're spending it all dealing with your yarn choice instead of learning how to work a pattern or a new stitch, you can easily just give up on the craft. So in an effort for me to get people to avoid doing that, that's why I'm talking about this. Don't make my mistakes. So I'm so excited about this. I can't imagine that I am not going to ball this up and cast on with everybody else on December 26th, if not sooner, just because of this blanket. That's probably not going to happen. So watch the vlog for Vlogmas, and we'll see how quickly I cast that on. Let's see, where are we at? Tutorials. Okay, we have made it to life. If you don't want to stick around for life and what's been going on, I totally appreciate that. Thank you for being here. I hope I see you next time. I hope you check out the tutorials if you haven't knit before. And even if you are a knitter and you just don't want to think about making this little square, the rectangle, you can find that pattern. It's very simple on my website under the handouts. And it was part of the last episode of the current knitting tutorials that are out for the knit stitch. There'll be another one, as I said, out for the purl stitch. But if you're just wanting this little pattern to make scrubbies or trivets or something, it's on my website. I did not bother to put it on Ravelry because it is extremely straightforward, and I think I'd also like to make a video explaining Ravelry for new knitters before I start putting patterns for them on it, because Ravelry can be very overwhelming. Anyway, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. If you would like the video and subscribe so you're here for the next one, it really helps the channel out. It helps me out and lets me know that the work I'm putting into these are helping someone. I would just really appreciate it. So hit the little bell button, hit the thumbs up. I super appreciate it. Let's move on to life. Okay, life updates. So if you've been watching the vlog, or for Vlogmas, you probably already know what's kind of going on with life right now. But I did mark down a few things here in my notes, so I didn't forget to talk about anything. I am very excited to be done with the tutorials for at least a little bit. Next week, I will start filming those again. They are so much more work than I thought they would be. I was like, oh, I can teach people this knit stitch, and I had the ideas for them all laid out on my head of what I wanted to accomplish. but actually filming them was a whole nother matter. To get the angles right, to get the lighting right, to get, how slow should I make them, editing them. This took up considerably more time than I thought it would. And so I was really stressed out for the last batch of them. And I want to avoid that, at least to an extent, for this next batch. So part of what's going to help me with that is I have learned to use the camera a lot better. I have this set up already down for where I need to place it and place my hands and the lighting to do the knitting. So that'll save me probably a huge amount of stress. I have, however, added stress because the editing software I was using, and frankly still am for the most part, doesn't handle large videos very well. And by large, I mean anything over about 15 minutes. Or if I start to piece together too many pieces of film, it starts to kind of break on me and it's crashed out a couple times and then I lose a bunch of work. So in an effort to avoid that, there is a editing software called DaVinci Resolve, and they're on number 19. And I did a lot of research. It is free, so if you, and they're not paying me, I'm just telling you what's going on. It does a lot, to the point where there are LinkedIn tutorials on their career learning page about how to use the software. It's used by a lot of professional companies and it's paid for version. And there is a huge learning curve to it if you want to use it for all the things it can do, which I, of course, will not do. But it also is set up a lot differently. Like the user interface is much different than my prior editing software. So, I get in there and I log in with my computer and I've got YouTube over here and I've got my laptop here and I'm like, okay, how do I even cut this footage? How do I take out, this section that I don't want in there, that kind of thing? How do I slow it down? Every single step of this process, I have to stop and learn how to do it in the new software. That might become too much. I really do want to learn this software. It looks amazing. I think it can make my videos and my production quality much higher than it is right now. But I also don't know if I have the capacity to handle the learning curve for it at the same time that I'm putting these tutorials together. So I have a feeling that what's going to happen is I'm going to divert back to the original software I was using and just hope and hope and hope and hope that it doesn't crash out on me. Please don't crash out on me. And the other thing is the audio. The new software that I have can handle a lot more audio editing than my other software. And since I've been struggling a lot with audio, I thought that might help. But these tutorials actually don't have a ton of audio. One of them might, but for the most part they don't. So I don't necessarily need that aspect of the new software. So at any rate, it's called DaVinci. That is what I'm currently working on as a goal to improve the production quality a little bit of the vlog. And I hope that eventually I am using it and that you can see a difference in that I am using it. So we'll see where that goes, but I've been working on it. Oh, my books. Okay, I have not really talked about these much because it feels weird to be like, I have a new book, buy it. And I'm just not a huge promote myself kind of person, I guess, even though I saw a need for these books, which is why I made them. So Amazon has finally put up on their website, I have these two books. They're very similar. This one is Love in Every Stitch Crochet Edition, and this one is Love in Every Stitch Knitting Edition. And what brought these books about was people coming to me with heirloom items that needed fixed. And they would hand me this, crochet blanket, and an animal or just time has worn through a spot in the crochet thread or the, knitting, and it needs patched. And They know it's a family heirloom, so it's important to them, but they also don't know why it was made, who it was originally made for, if it was for, you know, a wedding or a birthday gift or an anniversary, because a lot of these projects are very heirloom in nature, which is why people are wanting them fixed and not just being thrown aside or donated somewhere. They know that there's some kind of family gravity to the fact that it was made, but they don't know the history to them anymore. And also, when I, as the person who might go to fix it, goes to look at it, I'm like, man, it would really help if I at least knew the material that this was originally made out of. Now, a lot of times it's just cotton because they're old. But, you know, as the years pass, it's not going to just be cotton anymore. A lot of these, what are heirlooms now, what you're making now, you know, the shawl for somebody's wedding or the blanket for somebody's anniversary, you know, that's going to become an heirloom at some point, and it's probably not going to be 100% cotton or 100% wool. It's probably going to be a blend. So, you know, as the person fixing it, being able to know what that is important. So, and in order to combine not losing the story of an item and not losing the materials and the pattern and the stitches used of in that piece, I made these books. So the idea is this book is meant to be filled out mainly by the person producing the item, so the person knitting or crocheting it, and then it is gifted with the item to the receiver. And in here are prompts for not only the yarn used, the pattern used, you know, how much of it. There's prompts about the relationship and the event which prompted it to be made to begin with. You know, why are you making this? Tell me a little bit about yourself. Who are you gifting it to? Tell me a little bit about them. Tell me why your guys' relationship is so awesome that you warrant them knit-worthy or crochet-worthy, that you're making this item for them. And, you know, there's, of course, you know, care instruction spot. And, you know, when did we first meet? How did we first meet? Why are we awesome? There are several pages that are just for always remember. And I said, times we have been through in hopes for the future. So I really wanted to cover the story behind the item, so it's not lost to history, along with the actual making of the item. So inevitably, when it needs repaired, somebody can repair it in a way that matches the original item, at least if possible. Who knows what will go on in the yarn world between now and when the thing you're working on now is complete and gifted and needs repaired. But you know, just like not everybody uses 100% wool and 100% cotton anymore, there might be a new material that suddenly pops up in yarn at some point where you can't get it. But this would at least allow you to match it as best as you could. So that's kind of the idea. When you make somebody an heirloom item, there is now a journal that you can put all that in so that it's not lost to time. So that was the idea behind those. They're not a standard knitting journal. The internet is flooded with standard knitting journals of just, this is the yarn I used, these are the needles I used, this is the name of the pattern. Those things, there are hundreds of them, probably thousands of them actually, because Amazon makes it so easy to publish now. But I legitimately, after many hours of searching, could not find anything that does what these do to cover the story of the item and the materials and makeup. So these are both on Amazon. They're only on Amazon. There's a link to them from my website, but it will take you to Amazon. And they are eligible for Prime shipping. And one is Love in Every Stitch Knitting Edition and Love in Every Stitch Crochet Edition. So I have been working on those in the background, and I'm glad they're finally up there. They're up there in time for Christmas if you're doing some Christmas heirloom knitting, or some New Year's heirloom knitting if you wanted to take advantage of them. I think I put them up for $8.50. I make some of that, but it's a fraction of it. I think maybe $1.40 or something is what I pocket. So I really didn't do this to make money. I did this so people don't lose the memories of the items they're making for their loved ones. So anyway, that has happened, and I am excited about it. And I'm not used to self-promoting myself like that, so cut me some slack. Let's see, what else? Life. So I had a neurologist appointment. I suffer from chronic migraines and headaches on top of the migraines. I can usually still function with them if I have to, but dealing with chronic pain like that is not something I would wish on anyone. And so every 3 months I visit the neurologist, and we go over my medications, and he sees how I'm doing and all of that. And recently I had increased a medication because we thought maybe it would help more. Ultimately, I think it's not helped more. The side effects it's created, I think, have been more problematic than it helping. And I think it may actually be causing more headaches than less headaches. So we're backing down to my original dosing on that, because when I first went on it, it did help some. I just think the increase in it has caused too many side effects. So we're going to back that down. And then I told him, I said, look, I'm just going to make some lifestyle changes. And I've done this before, but not with as much seriousness as I'm doing it right now. So I have this tracker on my phone, and I'm literally recording everything I do. It's like a diary. If somebody finds my phone because I leave it somewhere, they're going to know what I did and ate all day long, every second of the day, because I'm trying to find triggers that I can avoid, and hopefully that I can control. For example, I know that the air pressure changes dramatically affect my headaches, and I can't change that. I mean, I've moved from the Midwest to Arizona, which has actually helped quite a bit, because the air pressure changes and the jet stream crash through the Midwest much more often than they crash through where I'm living in Arizona. So it has cut my headaches down. This move has, but that's not something that I can control any longer. I'm not moving again. But things like caffeine consumption, alcohol consumption, sodium, how much salt I'm consuming, maybe activities. Is my knitting and my crocheting actually lending to having more headaches? Because frankly, I have had more of them since I've been increasing my knitting and crocheting. Is the posture I'm using. So, I get up in the morning and I'm like, wake up, had coffee. These are the things I ate at breakfast. And it tracks what time those things are happening. So, if I take my medication and then an hour and a half later, I'm a complete zombie and completely wiped out and tired, I can go, and I'm just really craving caffeine, I can go, okay, there's a pattern here. The medication is causing me to feel this way. The problem is going for the caffeine is probably causing an increase in the headaches. And I have a feeling that might be part of what's going on right now. The medication I've been taking is propranolol, and it is used for a lot of heart conditions, but it's also used for migraine pain and to try and control migraines. It's kind of a first line drug, and it was not used first line for me. That happened, and I don't have to address it again for another 3 months, and hopefully all this tracking I'm doing will lead to some kind of pattern that will show me, avoid these things or do these things to help your pain levels or decrease the amount of migraines you're having. Oh, if I can avoid medication for the most part, I will do that, and I will put in the time tracking, all of this stuff to do it. Okay. I talked about DaVinci and the new editing software. If you are a DaVinci user and you're watching this, if you have tips, leave them in the comments. Let me know. There are tons of videos online about DaVinci. They are all extremely detailed, but if you just have, you know, a couple comments, go here, clip this, use this function, nobody talks about it, and it makes things much easier, let me know. Let's see, oh, upcoming release schedule. So this is the last thing, upcoming release schedule. I said that the videos for the purling will probably release on January 4th. I don't want to make that a hard set date. Making it a hard set date is part of what caused me so much stress last time, so maybe not that, but January 4th is kind of my goal for those. There will be 3 videos this time. One of them will just be talking about the purl stitch in general and how it varies from the knit stitch and ways that it's used in knitting. For example, if you're a current knitter, you'll know this, but you know how it pulls on the opposite direction of the fabric so that the weight of the yarn is on the opposite side than the knit stitch. That keeps your work from curling, for example, that kind of thing. I'm also going to discuss in that video Norwegian versus standard purling and the pros and cons to both of those. I will be teaching Norwegian purling. There are tons of videos on really both, but there are definitely more on standard purling, and I personally use the Norwegian purl, so that's what I'm going to teach. So this video will also cover the perks, and there are some cons to using Norwegian purl. And if you get practiced, you can actually switch between the two. It's hard to do that and keep your gauge the same, I find. So if you're going to do that, make sure you're watching your gauge throughout the project. But I do know people that do that. And then, of course, we have the actual video on how to purl and do the Norwegian purl stitch. And then finally, there'll be a video, just like there was for the knit video, on working through the pattern of combining the purl stitch with the knit stitch to create this washcloth that I showed earlier. And it will be pretty obvious the benefits of not just doing complete stockinette, why you need to throw some actual purls in there on the opposite side or some knit stitch on the reverse stockinette to create a border. But it'll be more practice with using a pattern, reading the pattern, and combining the stitches together. And then, of course, binding off in a combination of knitting and purling. So that's what's coming up on the channel. In addition to finishing out Vlogmas, while I am trying to get a Vlogmas video out every single day, it is clear to me that reality is maybe 4 a day, or going 4 a week. A day, my gosh, 4 a week is probably more realistic. That's kind of what's been happening. There seems to always be at least 1 day a week where we just have so much going on that I can't, either I don't record because I'm so busy doing other things that I don't record any footage, or I may record footage, but then I don't have time to edit it and get it out in time for that day. So it kind of flows into a double video. So 4 or 5 times for the next couple weeks, you will have Vlogmases every day. But I think that wraps everything up. I really appreciate you guys being here. Please let me know what you're excited about working on right now. Clearly, I'm excited about working on this HiberknitALong pattern from Steven, and I'm excited about getting this finished and thinking about more projects after that. They're already piling up in my head. So show me what you're working on. You can find me on Instagram. Those links will be in the description for the video. But I would, even if they're not my patterns, I would just love to see what you guys are working on and are excited about. So until next time, or if you're watching Vlogmas, until Vlogmas later today, I will see you next time. Thanks so much for joining me.